Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how tabs are for more than just your web browser. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, of course, when you're using your web browser, naturally if you want to view another web page but keep this one around, you would create a new tab, either by using the menu choice here or Command T. And then you could just continue to open new tabs. You can even use this plus button here to do it and have multiple tabs and go between them. While this is natural in a web browser and we've gotten used to it since this feature was introduced, often Mac users don't take advantage of using tabs in other situations as well. Many apps support tabs. So here I am in the Finder. Now if you want to have a second location open at the same time, you may go to File and then New Finder Window and then have two Finder windows and then kind of move them around and juggle them to see both. Maybe drag and drop files from one to the other. But you can use tabs here too. Notice under File there's New Tab. It's the same keyboard shortcut, Command T, and now you've got a second tab open in the same Finder window. I can go to one location in one of these and another location in another. So I've got two different locations open in two tabs rather than two windows. And you can continue to create more tabs if you need to as well. But everything will be neatly contained here in this one Finder window. Now you can work with these tabs just like you can work with the tabs in Safari and other browsers. So if I want to close a tab, notice that if I move my pointer over the tab I have an X button and I can close any one of these tabs. I can also close the current tab by going to File and then Close Tab. Notice Command W, the keyboard shortcut for closing a window, changes to Close Tab when I have multiple tabs open. So I can use Close Tab 3 times and it will close this tab, then the next tab, and then I would be down to just one tab in that window. So Command W would simply close the window. I could also move through the tabs by clicking on any one of the tabs. But I can use the same keyboard shortcut that you use in Safari. That's Control, not the Command key, but Control and Tab to cycle through the tabs. And holding the Shift key down as well as Control does it backwards. I can rearrange tabs simply by dragging and dropping. So you can see I can rearrange these here. I can also get a tab overview by going to View and then Show All Tabs, or the same keyboard shortcut that Safari uses, Shift Command and \. And this will bring all the tabs into little previews here. And I even get one to the right that's a big plus button. And I can use that to create a new tab. Or I can hit the Escape key to exit that mode. There's also an option in the Finder menu under Settings, under General, for open folders in tabs instead of new windows. So with this turned off, if I Control click on a folder there, you can see it says Open a New Window. And if I hold the Command key down and double click, you can see it opens up in a new window as well. But if I were to turn this setting on, then Control click or right click or two finger click on a trackpad is Open a New Tab. And holding the Command key down and double clicking will also open up in a new tab. In addition, there's something in System Settings that you should check out. Under Desktop and Dock, you go down to Windows. Notice that there's Prefer tabs when opening documents. And you can set that to in full screen, always, or never. So this applies to more than just the Finder. This applies to other apps as well, including third-party apps. They should all follow this rule that you've set here. Now some other things you should know about in the Finder. If you go down to say just one tab here, notice how it still shows me the tab. That's because under View I've got the tab bar shown. So you can toggle back and forth here. Shift Command T will do that. The advantage to not having the tab bar hidden is even when you have one tab open, you've still got the plus button here to the right. Whereas if I have it turned off, there's no way to add a new tab except to go to File and then New Tab. And after you've got a tab there, then the tab bar is shown. It has to be since you've got more than one tab and you need a way to switch between them. You also should know about some options here under Window. So let's say that you have multiple Finder windows. Let's go and create a new Finder window here. And I'll go to a folder in that one. I'll create another new Finder window and I'll go in here. Now I can go to Window and I've got the option to merge all windows. So it takes all of the currently open Finder windows and puts them together in tabs. In the window menu you also have the ability to move a tab to a new window. So I've got this one here open and if I were to choose that you can see it takes it out. But I can also do that without the menu. I can just grab a tab and drag it and you can see it breaks it apart into a new window. You can also bring them into windows like that. So this is where it helps to have the tab bar shown. If I show it here, I'll use the keyboard shortcut to show it here. Now I can grab this tab here and drag it into this window by putting it in the tab bar. And the same thing if I've got another Finder window. Let's create two new tabs in here. And now I can move tabs around to rearrange them. I'll put this one here and I'll drag this one to this window like that. Now I know one of the things you're probably thinking is this could be a problem in the Finder when you've got files and you want to move from one location to another. So let's say I want to move this file to this folder. Well, you can do that without opening up another window. All you need to do is start dragging a file, move it to the tab here and wait. And you can see how it jumps to that tab and you can drop it in. So it's fairly easy to keep everything in one window with tabs and still be able to drag and drop. Let's look at some other apps here as well. So here I am in Pages and let's create a new Pages document. I'll use a template for that. And if I want to create another new document I can choose another template and now I've got two separate windows. But I have the ability under Window to merge all windows. When I do that it puts both of those documents in the same window under two tabs. Now I can use the plus button here to create a new tab as well. And now you can see I've got things in three tabs. Once I've got the tabs I can drag them around as before. I can drag them from window to window as well. Now in System Settings if I go to that desktop and dock setting that we saw before and change to Preferred Tabs Always. Now when I go to create a new document here I see that it will open up in a new tab, not a new window. I still have the ability to look at all tabs although the keyboard shortcut isn't there by default in Pages. But you can see it this way and then use the plus button to create another one and it's going to ask for a template and I'll pick it. So now I've got all these different tabs and I can close them. I can even use Control and Tab and Control Shift Tab to move between them. Now you can use tabs in Numbers as well and you can see it works the same way. One of the problems here is sometimes I hear people refer to sheets like these three sheets that are in this one document as tabs. That's not correct. These are sheets and not tabs. But it can add some confusion if you also have tabs and yet you're still referring to sheets as tabs. So make sure to use the right terminology. Now tabs works in apps where you're using documents or in a browser where you've got a location. It doesn't work when you have an app where there's a central window. Like for instance in the Photos app or in iMovie or something like that. When it's not easy to have multiple windows open because it doesn't really have the document metaphor, then usually tabs aren't available. Tabs also work in third-party apps. For instance here's Pixelmator Pro and when I open up a new window here you can see it's doing it as a tab because I have that system setting there. And I've got two tabs. And you can see I can use the keyboard shortcuts to move between them. I've got the tab overview right there with the same keyboard shortcut. So you'll find functionality like this in a lot of common third-party apps, especially ones that use the document metaphor where each window or tab is a separate document. Sometimes there's a bit of a hybrid. For instance in Mail there's one central window where you basically check your messages. But you can double click on a message and it will open up in a separate window. Those windows can have tabs. So if I open up this message as well you can see now because I have the option to open in tabs instead of windows in System Settings I now have these in two tabs. The same is true for composing new messages. So I compose a new message like that and if I also start another new message you can see I've got them both in tabs now instead of in different windows. So if you're used to having many Finder windows or many document windows open at the same time on your Mac, I encourage you to look into using tabs instead. It can help you tidy up your screen. It can make it easier to find things. And it can combine the idea of allowing you to focus on one document or one folder at a time while still having multiple locations or documents open and easily available. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.